weird, like, yeah.
Hi, everybody. You caught Olivia and I catching up. We had a lot of fun for the past half an hour. We got to catch up a little bit before we went live. So thank you for being here, everybody. Thank you, as always, Olivia, for taking time out of your very busy schedule as a mom of two and Ben too.
Definitely.
Before I get started, and I'm going to ask you some questions, I think it's very important, full disclosure. I know you extremely well. I mean, having spent much time together as we did on the ranch and over the past almost 9 years, I thought I knew almost everything about you, but I did discover something on your Facebook page, and I think it's important that I share it.
All right.
January 28th, somebody posted, Randy Joyce, Kristen Farnell Bernard, and Anna Syed. Apparently, you guys all used to work at Chick-fil-A. Is that true?
That is true. I worked at Chick-fil-A all through high school. Well, actually, I shouldn't say all through my junior and senior year in high school, and I think my freshman through junior year in college. So I not only worked at home when I was in high school, but then when I went to college, and my friend Kristen Bernard, who also worked with me in high school, we were roommates in college, so we also worked at the Chick-fil-A up in Tuscaloosa, Roll Tide. But yeah, I worked at Chick-fil-A for a long time. As a matter of fact, I was such a stellar employee. This is not going to surprise you, Jay, but I was such a stellar employee, and I worked so many hours that they used to give these scholarships if you were enrolled in college, and so I got a $2,000 book scholarship or something from Chick-fil-A. So I know, and that was 25 years ago. That was a hot minute ago. So it was a lot of money.
I want you to know that our family, see, you grew up in the South, so it was there. And so once it came up here, Matthew he's crazy Chick-fil-A. All of us are. In fact, the only thing that's happened, we pretty much, with this whole coronavirus thing, we've stayed sequestered into the house or quarantined in the house. But a couple of weeks ago, Jennifer and Kim and I, we had to go out and do something. We protected ourselves. But where did we end up? Drive-through in New Jersey, Chick-fil-A. I will tell you, it is the craziest drive-through line beyond belief. But that chicken sandwich is epic. The Chick-fil-A sauce is unbelievable. And then let's talk about the waffle fries.
The best.
I mean, they really are the best.
It really is. And I can say, especially, I have kids, and kids, they're gonna want to have fast food now and again, and that's absolutely okay. You should let your children have fast food now and again. But Harper loves their little kids meal with the chicken nuggets and whatever. And from working there, I know for a fact that everything they cook there is all really good quality. So if you're gonna eat fast food, that's probably the best choice out there, I think, in my opinion. So.
Yeah. And it's interesting because when I saw that, I really honestly didn't know that you, I mean, I know we talked about lots of things. You and I have an absolute love for food. We always have. But I think it's also helpful because a lot of times people talk about losing weight, and as well as I do, it's never exciting and inspiring to lose weight. It's really not. But I'm open even with talking about Chick-fil-A because I think, 9 years later, you and I have not been perfect, never will be perfect, and we never tried to be. But I think that, when people talk about making a change in their life, they think this, as we know, it always was it had to be perfect, it was all or nothing, and it never worked. So it's been, if people don't know you, and how nobody doesn't know you, I don't know. But obviously, you won our season 11. Yeah. You were the biggest loser. You were relentless. You were consistent. You did everything you needed to do. You were a fierce competitor. I joked before that if you had to cut off your leg to win, you might have done that as well. Great, but I mean, you were very determined, and you had very similar, both you and Hannah. And I shared this with Hannah yesterday. And it wasn't meant to be mean, but any of us that kind of saw you guys in the beginning, everyone kind of pegged you guys as they're not going to get that far. You didn't seem confident. And I got the chance to see firsthand the two of you it wasn't the losing the weight. It was the way that you mentally transformed yourself. And what I love about that is you did it on the ranch, and you and Hannah are a great example of what's possible when you keep doing that, not trying to be perfect. So kind of share from your perspective, it's been almost 9 years. You've lived an amazing life. You've done lots of things. You're, you know, wife, mama too. Like, from all the things that you learned from Biggest Loser, like what are the things that you could share with people? Like the 2 or 3 things that you seem to know that whether it's you or anyone else, that really would make a difference if somebody's looking to make a change in their life right now.
I think for me, I guess my answer is going to be like twofold. Like first, one of the things that was so, I mean, you were absolutely right when you said, you know, there was definitely a transformation that happened at the ranch. And I'm not even talking about just the physical transformation, because that happens. I always tell people that part was the biology part. You know what I mean? Like that's the part where you're moving more, you're eating less. There's a major change in behavior as far as that. So that is what just happens when you make those consistent choices over and over and over. For me, I think there were like so many times there was such a fear component to losing weight that I had never really thought about. And I don't even know if in the moment at Biggest Loser that I realized that's what it was, but it was one of those things that I was always afraid, if I really put everything in, I really try to lose weight, if I really, really, really try, and I felt this way for years, and if I can't do it, and I really fail at it, not just a little bit, but if I really fail at it, how am I going to recover from that? Does that really mean that for the rest of my life, I have to live in this particular shell of a body that I want to, you know, I want to be healthy and I want to move forward and all of that. So for me at the ranch, it was like constantly having to face that scale every week was the fear of failure, and realizing as I went, it wasn't the fear of the pounds, it was the fear of failure, that and changing that feeling of, oh, there is no failure in this. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, yes, at the ranch, if you go too low, below, you go home and this, that, and the other. But like now looking back on it, what I have learned now is I love the idea that what we chose and what we learned back then has provided an aspect of fluidity for me. And this is still an ongoing kind of evolutionary learning experience for me, for sure. And that this choice isn't just a one-time choice, that yes, you're going to make it every day, but you're going to make it in different ways based on what's happening in your life, based on, and to me, if you view it as a fluid type of choice, that it's still always going to get you to that end goal, but it's one of those things that it's going to have different meaning every time you make it. It's going to have to be tailored to your life and to your lifestyle and to what's changing and evolving. And I'm relearning that lesson right now. Like I said, I just had my second baby. You gain weight when you're pregnant. That is just part of it. And so for me, I am restoring my body. I'm not looking at it like a renovation project. I'm trying as hard as I can to give myself some grace and to not get down on myself. I mean, you know how it is, Jay, like we've all been through that cycle. And for me, I'm just trying to continue to realize that this is a fluid part of my life. It is going to morph into places where I feel extremely great about it. And there's going to be times when I don't feel as successful. But as long as I know that it is something that has life and breath and movement, and it is going to be a continual choice that I get to make, it's like you don't feel so stuck. And I don't get that fear anymore like I used to about losing weight.
It's interesting. It's interesting you say that, because that was a big, and I didn't Anna yesterday, the fear factor for apparently for both of you guys. And I think I have learned in other conversations, most people that I talk to, they already, as we all did, and we had so many stories and examples of failing, that most people have a desire, they walk into it and they really want to, but they already know they're going to fail. And so when they kind of get a little bit of success, I find, especially for women, a lot of times they'll be successful, and then their mind kind of goes like, you know, I know I'm going to fail, and I didn't do this, and I'm trying to get them to really own their success. And I think that's one of the things when I talked about the transformation that you had, that I got to see, was that literally you just it really wasn't. I know we lived and died by the scale. That's why I call this going beyond the scale, because that was for biggest.
Yeah.
That was what we lived and died by. Okay.
Yeah.
But the people that really have made not only body changes, weight changes, or whatever, but what I would say almost, what I love what you're saying is kind of, instead of the word renovating, which a lot of times people think about, I love the idea of restoring. When you said the word restore, I've not heard people really use that. I think it's a very powerful word, and I think it's very helpful for people to think about, because if you start to think about how you're restoring whatever that, it could be your body, it could be your relationships with yourself, with other people in your family, it could be your finances. You know as well as I do.
Yes.
Any of us in the world of being challenged with our weight typically have weight and money issues and other issues. Like there's a whole plethora of issues that happen. So I think that's where I know you did it after Biggest Loser. I know Hannah had done it. I know one of the reasons why Jennifer went to work at Lululemon is she felt like if she went to a place where people were healthy minded and wanted to live life well and be fit, she knew she had a better shot at that, because like what Hannah had mentioned at the end of her chat with me yesterday was she felt the community was so important. So I love, like you had a lot of choices. Being a Biggest Loser winner, like you have a world of choices. And so for you, what was it of all those choices that you did? What was it that had you go to SoulCycle, which is an amazing company, an amazing community? What was it that drew you there? And you've been there for quite a long time, and you've been extremely successful. What was that?
Yeah, I've been there now for 7 years. I'm a master instructor with them, which is the highest level you can get as far as in the instructor world. And for me, I kind of, just to like touch on just for a quick second, kind of like that idea of restoring yourself, or restoration.
Yeah.
I like kind of view it as like, if you think about like renovating something, you have to tear it down. You have to like bust through a wall. You have to tear it all down to the ground. Something about the word restore and restoration is something like, if you think about restoring a piece of furniture, you're like taking the time to like strip the layers off, like in small ways, and like really taking the time to make it beautiful and to make it valuable. And like, to me, I always felt that that was what SoulCycle was. That SoulCycle, I had been to so many different workouts after Biggest Loser. And I know, Jay, you've done it. I mean, I feel like literally I have done every workout out there. And that was what drew me into SoulCycle from the first time I ever rode there. Is I was like, oh, wow, this is really fitness from the inside out. They are so passionate about what happens on the inside during a workout, during a 45-minute spinning class.
Right.
I mean, you are going to laugh and maybe cry and all of these things. And I remember every time I left, I felt like I had done something not only amazing from a calorie standpoint, but I had done something so restorative from the inside out. And I love the way I felt. And so I continued to ride with them for about a little over a year, and then had different instructors asking me to ride their bike and get on their podium. And I was finally in a class with one of the founders, Julie Rice, and she was like, why aren't you doing this? You come work for me. Yeah. And I had a conversation with her, and I thought, I don't know, like, I'm the fat girl, you know, I mean, you know how it is, like that chubby girl, she's always there. And I love her, but you know, sometimes she gets squirrely, Jay. So I was really scared. And she said, just go through training, see what happens. I went through training, long story, even longer, became a SoulCycle instructor and loved it. And what I love so much is, if you look at SoulCycle, they have a very diverse type of instructor base. They have, you know, what you would imagine. They have like people with like ripped abs and glistening skin, and they look more beautiful after the class than they started. That's not my situation so much. However, I work really hard. I'm an athlete. I deserve to be in that room just as much as people who with six-pack abs. And I love the fact that they give me a platform for that, for people who, you know, like you said, Jay, nobody's perfect. And I love the fact that I can create a safe space for people maybe who are just starting, or people who are coming back to fitness, or people who are really top-notch athletes. I'll still kick your butt. You know that? This chubby girl will still kick your butt.
Oh, yeah.
So I love it.
When you were in New York, I took many of your classes, and I will tell you, it takes something for somebody to be an instructor, because literally you have everyone's heart and soul, literally soul, and their expectations for you to really inspire and transform them. And so it takes it's not just balls on the wall, working out hard and sweating. You have to be able to be an example, as you know, and you have to be able to say things that are inspiring. And it's not unusual to have half the class in tears and just literally transformed at the end of it. And I think that's one of the things that I love about spinning. And you know, because there was a scene on Biggest Loser that Bob had us doing it. I hated it because I was so fat and my big butt sitting on the tiniest seat in the world. It was the most ridiculous thing in the world. I was like, I was so pissed at Bob, like, why was he making me do this? And then he took us down to Crunch, and what I learned was that when a person like yourself cares, which I know you well enough to know, you aren't there to do your time. I know you, and I don't know how you set yourself up for it, but I know you as a person. You go there and it's in your mind, you have an intention to transform the people in that particular class. And I know sometimes afterwards people say something to you about what you did and how it moved them. And you also know firsthand, there are sometimes people that will come back to you 5 years later and like, you have no idea how you changed my life. They don't want to say anything because they feel like it's going to make you feel uncomfortable. But I will tell you that to me, it's a natural thing that you went to SoulCycle, because it really, I've never heard that word restoration that way, or restore. And I love that, because it really, I do think too many people think that they're wrong and they're broken. Yeah. And I know all of us felt that way in many regards, and none of us are. I think if anything, the Biggest Loser taught us, and people should see, against all odds, no matter how whacked out we were or could be, all of us have such potential, and the only way that usually works isn't if you try to do it by yourself, but you need to go someplace like to an Olivia class, or to go somewhere where you can have a community, and you can be in the back and nobody sees you for a while and you feel uncomfortable, but little by little you just start to feel better about that. And that's what I love about what you do. To me, it makes so much sense that you did it and you've been there so long. Now, the other thing I was going to ask you is, you mentioned there's something else going on with you and SoulCycle. What's coming up with you guys?
SoulCycle is coming out with an at-home bike. There are lots of different ones out on the market, and I'm just really excited that they're offering, because I cannot tell you, Jay, how many times over like direct message, or when I meet people in person over the years, people have said things like, oh my gosh, like, is SoulCycle going to come to XYZ city or my city? And, I know their dream is to be nationwide, all over the place. But in the meantime, I love that there's going to be an opportunity for people to purchase a SoulCycle bike. And then there's an app attached to it. It's called Varis, VARIIS. And it's unbelievable. And it's just an umbrella of the entire Equinox family. So you'll be able to, access lots of different modules that that family brand offers, SoulCycle being one of them. And I love that, my friends in Montana can get a bike and take a SoulCycle class. And I was hoping to actually film some episodes for the app this last year, but I was pregnant, and I was like, as much as I loved my pregnant body, I did not want to be immortalized in some app somewhere, like 8 months pregnant, trying to literally, you want to talk about riding a pregnant lady on one of those tiny little seats, like, it's not a pretty sight, Jay. But so I'm hoping in the future, once the world kind of figures itself out, that I'll be able to do that. So yeah, it's really exciting.
So it's been 9 years. Obviously, everybody knows about you and SoulCycle. You're a mom. You got the 2 boys. You have actually 3 boys between beds.
That's right. My number 1 boy.
Your number 1. Great guy. What, from your perspective, also, if we go back for a moment, for people that are, yes, we were on a show in a controlled environment, but all that stuff. And there's a whole world of things that we learn and experience and try to share with people. But for somebody that's not been on Biggest Loser, or might get on Biggest Loser, like, if there were those things, once again, I think that you mentioned about restoration. I think that's a really great mentality for people to start to have. Are there other things? Are there baby step things that you feel that really give somebody like almost a way to get started? What are some of those things that you might be able to share today?
I mean, I don't know how you feel about this, Jay, but like, I go back all the time to those. I think the days I remember the most about Biggest Loser were those first days that we were there. Like those days are just like, I don't know if they were like, it was because of all the pain. I don't know if they were like emblazoned on them for that reason.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding. But I really, really do remember those first few days. And I can honestly, when I think back about those days, I think about all the things that we did in the shape that we were in. I mean, I hadn't been to a gym in my adult life ever, you know? And so to all of a sudden be hiking and doing spin classes and all this, like right from the get-go, I think my biggest like piece of advice to people is don't underestimate yourself. Do not underestimate yourself. I totally am not saying go out and like sign up for a marathon and do it next week. I mean, nobody wants to do that. I don't even want to do a marathon if I train for 6 months, if I'm being honest. But my point is, there's a lot more you can do than you think. And I think I just wish someone would have told me that years ago. Like your body is so unbelievably incredible, fluid. It can move. Everybody can find some type of modality that they can do. Everybody, whether it be walking, whether it be it's one of the reasons why I love spin so much, because I know I'm going to be able to do this for many years. It's low impact. You can go at your own pace. You know what I mean? Get a gel seat pad, people. Like, just that's my tip for like bikes. Like, help your little backside a little bit. But I think there's always something that you can find, that you can tailor to yourself. But I think that so many people feel like they have to wait on something. I know I did. I was like, oh, well, maybe if I just like lose a little weight first and then maybe then I'll feel more comfortable to exercise. Just get out there and start doing it. It's like there's something so freeing about using your body in whatever stage you're in. Are you going to be sore? Yes, definitely so. Is it going to be hard? Absolutely. Is it going to have to be something you choose every day until it becomes a routine? Absolutely. But just get out there and get going. Like really just take the plunge, cannonball into the deep end and just start doing it. You know what I mean? And, that to me, I always remember that was one of the biggest lessons I learned, at Biggest Loser for sure.
Remember the time, I don't remember where we were, but we went with Jillian and we went to where she had her horse, and all of us we were still pretty big. And we were doing I got lost and got in trouble. I don't know how I went off the wrong trail. They were yelling at me because they thought they lost me or something. And Aero was going to get in trouble for it. But remember, there was a time it was me and you and Arthur, and like we were like marshmallow people going up the side of this hill. And all of a sudden, these real fit people at the top saw us, and they were like, "What going up here? You people are like it was like when they saw Martians, like." That made no sense to them, but that's a great example of we would have never done that because we didn't do it. And that I think that's a great point because it doesn't matter. And like you said in the beginning, when Sandy was helping us, we had blisters on top of blisters. We were having our ankles wrapped. Like we were really a mess. But the other part that happened too, which we did learn, people said, weren't you sore all the time? Not after, and this is the other part I want to lead into because I want to really hear what you think about this. Not after we started moving started to learn how to hydrate ourselves, and we started to actually eat good quality food. Yes, we ate less, but all the food we had was good. And the other thing, I know you probably hear it all the time, people ask me like, what did you eat on the show? Because we never really talked about it, other than we had a Subway commercial or whatever, which we never really, because we didn't want to gain weight at that time. So we'd like eat a bite and then we'd spit it out or whatever.
That's right.
You know, but the food never, unless Curtis Stone was there to cook, a celebrity chef, the food was never as exciting as people jumping off of buildings and other crazy stuff.
Right.
But for you, I mean, yes, on the ranch, we ate well, we did all of that. It's been 9 years. I opened this conversation with Chick-fil-A, which some people are like, you can't do that. Yes, you can do that. That's the whole point. So how is it that you're living your life? And you know as well as I do, like Jennifer and I've done a video together where it was a whole thing, cheat versus treat. And I was like yelling at Jen, like, Jen, what are you talking about a cheat day? We don't do cheat days in our family anymore. We do treats. Cheating is stupid. It doesn't make sense. The language we use really affects us. So for yourself, you are doing really well. You don't have to be perfect, but like, what is your world of cooking, eating out, doing what, like, and being a mom, and you know, a lot of women that I work with are like, oh, I have a tough time because I'm feeding my child, and then I'm eating something. Like, what's your world with food look like?
It's really interesting. And that's another thing that has been very fluid throughout these 9 years for sure. Right now, I'm in like weight loss mode. So it's really interesting for me. And I mean, I'm going to say this and people are going to grab their pitchforks and that's okay. But for me, what works and what always has worked is counting my calories. It's old fashioned. I know it doesn't work for everybody. Some people feel very restricted and they like to, do the keto this or count my macros. It's just very simple for me. And for me, I know that if I have calories, then I can be very creative within that. Like that's another thing for me with food. Like and I think Jay, you and I share this.
Yep.
Like if I feel like I'm just eating like, I don't know, like a salad at every meal or like steamed veggies and chicken breast, like I'm just literally going to be face first in a box of Entenmann's in like 2 seconds. Like, let's just be honest.
Yep.
But for me, I really, really try. I love to do that because it allows me to be really creative. However, I think there is always that point. And I'll never forget this. I had a conversation with Sione, and I thought, do you remember what season he was on? It was one of the earlier seasons, maybe 4 or 5. I don't know.
Yeah, it was very early.
5. Yeah. We were having a conversation. This was years ago, and he was just saying how the one thing that Biggest Loser did for everybody is it gave us all a food conscience. And I thought that was really interesting because before, like you said, it was all this like really like negative, like binging or like, oh, this, and then you would feel so terrible and whatever. But it was like because you had no like barometer for what was good for you. Like to me, it was only just what was going to make me fat or what was going to make me skinny, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So like for me now, I really do I try to choose, and I've always kind of stayed in that realm of this is really good for me. Like if like there aren't very many things that you have control over in your life that will give you a like 100% outcome. Like if you eat well, if you eat good things will happen to your body, whether that's losing weight or staying hydrated or feeling just having more energy. I mean, good foods, just like you said, like what we had at Biggest Loser, like good foods make you feel good. And so for me, it's been easier to kind of stay in that outline. And like you said, I'm not perfect at all. When it was Easter, I made homemade Reese's peanut butter eggs and we ate them and they were delicious. And I did not think twice about it. And I think that's really important that you somehow can like find balance in that. I am more successful at times than others for sure. I go through periods where I'm like, wow, I feel like garbage. And then I'm like, wow, I've eaten out a whole lot recently. I'm not taking the time to think about my food. And in maintenance, I feel like I don't have to be quite as, I don't like to say not as mindful, but I don't have to hold myself so accountable because I'm kind of a little bit on cruise control, if that makes sense. But for me right now, I'm really trying to stay within those parameters and really pay attention to like good things that make me feel good food wise.
And so if you had to say, well, I know it's a little bit different now because you can't really go out, but before the whole virus thing went on, like proportionally, how much did you guys go out to eat and how much were you cooking at home? Just
like over the last 9 years, you mean, like since Biggest Loser?
Or are you like 50-50, 80-20? I'm just curious,
Yeah, I would say 80-20 for sure. Cooking at home, 20% out to eat for a couple of reasons. One, I mean, and Jay, I lived in New York up until a couple of years ago. It's expensive to eat out. Like, and even here in Atlanta, it's expensive. It adds up super fast. And it just becomes like, I just feel like it's a waste of money in a lot of ways. And so I try to eat home. Plus, you just know what you're eating. You just have a better idea of what you're eating. For me, I stay more of in a routine that way, which is also really helpful. But I love to go out to eat. I love to experience food from different cultures. And I love to like experience the community of going out to eat with friends and, or just my family or whatever. So I would say I would definitely say 80-20. And I think you should do that. Like, even if you aren't in a weight loss mode, you shouldn't feel like you can't go out to eat. Like that, you got to still live your life. This has to be a part of your life, or it's just going to be some weird chapter in your book. And then you're going to go to something else when you turn the page, if that makes sense.
I don't know if you and Ben do it or not. I know Kim and I don't have the same appetite that we used to. I mean, I remember we used to years ago when we were like, when I was at my top weight of like 435 and climbing. I mean, it was just, you know, I had breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And when I had breakfast, lunch, and dinner, it was like, you know, it was a full boat of everything. And if we went to dinner, it was like or an entree, and then, you know, the whole load of the bread and bring another bread. Or if we went out for Mexican food, like 2 or 3 things. Like, I just had it was like an endless pit. Now, there are different times, like what you said, that I have times where like I'll kind of go rogue, but my rogue is not like it used to be. And the other thing will happen, sometimes Karen will be like, you know what, I don't really feel like cooking tonight. I kind of feel like a hamburger. You feel like a hamburger? It's like, yeah, let's go. We do this a lot, not because we're trying to like save calories. We'll go out and we'll order a hamburger, one, and a hamburger and fries, and we split it. And we're fine, because typically what will happen is we would go out and each order one, and we would eat it, and then go like,
yep.
Much. So what we found, there have been a few times, not too many, a few times where we would eat, have a hamburger and a French fry, and it was really good. It's like, Kim, you still hungry? Yeah, I'm kind of still hungry. Let's get an appetizer. And we would get an appetizer and split that. All I know is it's not even trying. I think that after a while, like if you get your head in the right place and you don't think you can't have anything, like if you really want something, it's almost like better. Because I think you probably had the same thing. When I would try to not have something, I would do all the things and eat everything around it. And then it would be like, oh, I ate the wrong things. And then I would do that. I would go after the thing and mainline Edamins and the milk and like, and then be like, you know, so I think that not giving yourself the opportunity to enjoy something, it seems to be a dangerous trap. At least I found it to be that way.
Absolutely. And I also think like the other night, and it was the first time since all of this has been going down with coronavirus, but we ordered from a place here in Atlanta called Farm Burger. And it reminds me of kind of like Bear Burger in the Northeast. It's kind of like that, where everything is really good quality. And my thing was, we wanted to get a burger, but we didn't want to go eat a fast food burger. Like, I was like, if we're going to eat a burger, like, let's eat a really good hamburger. You know what I mean? So we ordered from them. They brought it. We got sweet potato fries and split that. We did each eat a burger because we were starving, but it was interesting. For earlier in the day, like you said, our appetites are just very different. I made these big salads at home. We had a salad earlier in the day. So we were just really hungry. And so but I didn't feel guilty afterwards, because I don't do that at every meal. Like you said, I mean, literally when I was 300 pounds plus, I mean, every meal was an event, Jay. It was, I mean, I'm talking an event, and I had to have some kind of snack in between. I mean, it was like there was some quantities that was happening, and definitely. So I do kind of agree with you. I would love to ask you a quick question.
Sure.
So what do you think for you, like in this talking about food, what is the biggest thing that you feel like you learned since we got off the show?
Okay, without a doubt, the biggest thing that I've learned actually happened by happenstance on Biggest Loser. So as you know, little gameplay on the show, Jenny and I got thrown over to the other opposing team. We lost the team weigh-in, and somebody was going to go home, and it was Jennifer's dream to be on Biggest Loser. It wasn't mine. I needed it even more than she did, but it's like, it was her thing. It wasn't my thing.
Right.
So I was like, look, let me go. And I think that was week 7. I went home, and when I went home, I did what I was supposed to do. I kept doing what I was doing. You get a trainer, and you go to the gym, and I started taking pictures of my food, and I would send them to the producers. I sent them to the PAs. I was sending videos of me being on the treadmill. I was doing all of that kind of, I was just staying in touch. They didn't tell me to, I just did it. And what happened was, it was funny because I didn't realize it, but they had talked to our therapist, and they'd sent him, it's like, is this guy manic? Like, you know, what's, they were really concerned I like lost my mind. I mean, I was literally, everything I was putting in my mouth, I was sending to them. And he's like, no, he's just passionate. So what had happened was when I got the opportunity, when your sister was one of the people with Jillian that kind of got me the opportunity to come back to the show, which I was so grateful. It was about 4 weeks I was at home. It was so exciting to be able to get on Biggest Loser, but to come back and have that really wonderful moment where Jennifer and I, it wasn't fake TV, it was like father-daughter.
Yeah.
Like it was the father-daughter moment. You come out of the dark, the big hug. It's like, it makes for great TV. And I was
great.
Jenny and I got to be together. And then it was like, oh my God. The next week she went over the red line. She was gone. They took her away. I didn't even get to hug her. I was like, oh my God, because I knew she wasn't coming back. So what had happened was that experience when I went home and I felt so good. And it's funny because one of the things I'll show you here, if I stand up, I'm actually wearing, it's hard to see here, but I'm wearing, this is my second skin.
I love it.
But this is a Lululemon second skin that I wore at the finale. Now look, it's not hanging off of me like, like
right.
Still tight because I'm about at this point about 18 more pounds to be at my finale weight again, because I'm doing like what you're doing. I'm in a weight loss mode because I've been so happy to be in this kind of maintenance for a long time, like the 250s to 260s for literally 9 years. But I'm like, you know what? I think I can just get my head out of my butt and move further. So for the past 9 years, I have been literally about 95% documenting everything that I eat and taking pictures of it. And I share it on Instagram, not because I'm trying to get everybody to follow me, but for me, it's like a mental consciousness for me to be aware, and I can see what I'm doing or not doing. I track what I'm eating, my exercise, all that. And it's the only thing that for me at least, hey, look, somehow it's working because people will say, oh my God, when you lose all your weight, you've screwed up your metabolism, you're going to gain it all back. I didn't gain it all back. Okay. Haven't been perfect. Gain it all back. I didn't go above where I was before. People say, well, as you get older, your metabolism is bad. I'm 62 years young. I'm older than most of the people on the show. I don't have an incredible metabolism. It might be not even quite as good as it was when I was 53 and I was on the show. But it's here. Here's my metabolism right here. It's right here behind my little Yoda ears. I mean, this is the point where anytime I didn't get to 435 pounds because my metabolism was a problem. It was my mouth and my was a problem. So I would say for me, it's the consciousness and just staying accountable. And let's face it, you know this as well as I do, because we get to speak to people all the time. It's like, look, accountability is important, and if you're willing to share that with people, when you stand in front of millions of people on a scale, it's miraculous how you lose weight every single week, and you won't be talking about motivation. So I think that most people that I know have found other people that have supported them, been involved in a community of people. But if you know this, Olivia, when you start to feel bad, and then you hide, and we know how to do this so well. And I understand it. It's not always easy. But the longer you hide, you go to the 10, the 20, 30, 40, 50, and you just keep going on. And so I think that's really the part, at least, if I had a big thing to take away. Our souls were bared for all the world to see and for all of us to discover on Biggest Loser. And I think all of us took certain things away from that. And I think you and I are very grateful of it. And I think also, which I'd like you to share as well, that one picture I posted today about you and I talking, there's been all kinds of controversy about Biggest Loser, drugs, all kinds of stuff. We did not have any of that. None of that had gone on. And that's why that piece with you and I, we had a chance to share that with people. I mean, share. So it's a long story, but that's for me, being accountable, and for me, visually tracking what I'm doing, it works. I don't know.
And I that's kind of what I was saying with the whole, like, for me, with the whole calorie thing. Like, it's not because I'm like, oh, that's like my plan and whatever. It's literally because there is something that is so important about holding yourself personally accountable. Like, I think it's great to do programs, and, there are some absolutely amazing like weight loss programs and things out there, and groups and all of, I am not like knocking any of that. But I do think that, like, when people are like, oh, I see all the time people post things like, oh my gosh, like, I'm a registered this, that, and the other, and you don't need to track anything, and you can lose weight without. And I think that for people maybe who are losing a little bit of weight, 20 pounds, like, maybe that really does work for a lot of people. But I believe personally, and again, I'm not a doctor, but this is what I believe from just my life experience and working with people who have a lot of weight to lose. If you have a lot of weight to lose, I'm talking 80 pounds plus, like
Right.
over, like if you have a significant, I mean, if you've got to lose a Backstreet Boy, let's just be honest. Uh, you need to find something that holds you accountable daily. And for you, like you said, taking those pictures, that really worked for you. That it was like you were visually having to like kind of like hold that mirror up to your face and look every day and like, oh, well, this makes sense. Like I did really well because I ate this and this or whatever. For me, it is like, and I said, even the other day on Instagram, I was like, I have to write it down on paper like we did at the ranch. Like I know you could put it in. I mean, I have a Fitbit. It's right here. I wear it all the time. Fitbits, you can put them in apps. There's all kinds. For me, just good old fashioned. I've eaten this many calories. Everything goes in my mouth, goes on that piece of paper. That works for me. So I just think that like if anybody's watching out there and they're like, oh, I've just been working at it so hard and I haven't been, successful, like try tracking something, try whatever version of that you want to do, but just like hold yourself accountable that way. It's really amazing what can happen when you start holding yourself accountable, like personally accountable.
And one of the ways that really puts a fine point on that is when people say that to me and they go through a whole litany of like why they don't need to and this and another thing, I say to them, okay, I got something for you to try. Why don't you for the next year not look at your bank account? Don't pay attention to any of it, because people like numbers don't define me. I get that. I understand.
Right.
But you know what? Good, bad, or indifferent, until we live in a world where data isn't part of our life, because it is. There's the mind part, and then there's the physical part, like if you have to pay your rent or your mortgage or your gas and electric or your whatever. Like you see over there, my InBody machine, that's the one that I use for body composition for people. And what I love about that machine, I've now had about 5,000 consultations with people from all ages. And what I tell them is like, look, I'm going to show you a piece of paper and you can have it in the app and you can understand what your body composition is. I tell them there are no good or bad numbers. Every single person that gets on the machine is both fit and fat, because we have to all be fit and fat. We don't not have fat on our body. We need to have a different relationship about our muscle and our hydration and the fat. And what happens is when people start to understand like what the assets are that they have, and if they start to see how much life energy are they willing to commit to make a change or not make a change or whatever, I find that the conversation is less about the scale and it's more about their mindset and the way that they want to live their life, how stress affects it or whatever. So the fact that you're sharing about the accountability through tracking, we all had to track all of our calories.
Yeah.
We learned that, and we know, and don't forget, we also measured our food, all of our food, we measured everything. That's why it worked. And it does.
That's right.
Yes, some people have different metabolism, basal rate, like all of that. But bottom line, no different than a bank account. There is a certain amount of money that's going in, a certain amount of money that's going out, and some people get more investment, and some people have more debt, whatever. Yep. But if you're not counting, in your case, and I get it, you're writing it down. For me, the reason I don't write it down is because I can tell you, I even had to do it this weekend. I didn't do 3 days worth of updating my Instagram account with my things. But you know what I had? I had all the freaking pictures. So I get up in the morning and I sit there and I go back through it, and I could not do it.
Yep.
It's like, I know if I go too far, then I would just give up with this, like, oh, this isn't worth it. I just never let it go so far. And that's why I love the fact for you, writing it down makes it different than for you just maybe putting it into like the Fitbit or whatever. So that's what you do. You find the thing that works for you, and everybody has something that works for them. They need to find that part.
Definitely. Absolutely.
So, kind of, unless there's anything else you have up your sleeve, we're kind of coming to the end of this. And I was also hoping maybe that you might have a little guest appearance. Is that possible?
Oh, yes. Let me go see what they're doing. My boys, like Jay said, all my boys. Can all my boys come in here? 1 second. That sounded ominous. Harper, is Harper? Right?
Harper, come here.
Harper, come here.
Let's switch the screen.
Come over here. Come on. Come over here. Come here. Come here.
Can
you say hi? Hi.
Where'd that tooth go?
Say, what happened to your tooth?
What happened?
He lost it.
He lost it.
What happened?
I hit it on the playground and
Ooh.
He hit it on the playground. And did your dentist have to take it out for you?
Ooh.
He got a shot, but he was very brave, weren't you?
Yeah, and the other tooth is hurt and it doesn't fall down bad.
It hasn't fallen out yet. Can you show him the top of your head? Lean your head down so you can see. Harper's got a mohawk because I mean, you should just have a mohawk if it's
Harper is
coronavirus.
awful. I never forgot the time that he did that thing where he fell in the tile and split his head. Like, oh my God, like that kid.
Oh my gosh. Let me tell you, he is afraid of nothing, which I love that about him. But also I'm like, please, like my emergency, like he has been to the emergency room. He's had stitches. He's like, he was roughhousing with a bunch of boys on the playground and then jumped off the slide and like hit his tooth. And that's what happened. Oh my goodness.
Did you dress him up? What did you do?
This, I don't know what was
going
on. Oh, say hi. He is almost 4 months.
Wow. Felix, how you doing? What's new?
Say, I'm so good, Mr. J. Say hi. Can you say hi?
Oh,
there we go.
There you go.
Yeah, he's kind of still at that stage where like he's like, what's happening? I don't really know what's going on.
Yeah.
But he's a good boy. He's a good boy. He's just about a Thanksgiving turkey, so we're doing really good.
That's good. Where's your
Where's what?
your big boy?
Oh, the best boy is right here.
Ben.
What's up?
Handsome as ever.
Yeah, he's doing great. Also, Jay, just like Kim, you know, my best boy over here lost 113 pounds when I was on Biggest Loser and has kept the majority of it off. Would you?
Yeah.
Yes.
What's your amazing athlete?
What?
He is an amazing athlete. I've been with him before. I mean, there's no two way. I mean, once again, Ben is a great example, like what Kim was, the same thing where you don't have to be on a show to really, you know, to really support yourself. What can you hear, Ben?
There we go. Hey.
Hi there, Ben. No, I was just saying,
Hey.
you're an amazing athlete, and the fact that, you know, both you and Kim were supporting, you know, us all while we were away, which was great. And, you know, in a moment there, why are you still successful, Ben? What is it? I mean, you weren't for all this.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, you know, I think the idea of like, there was just so much change. It was just such a big thing. Like for so long, I try to explain it this way. Like for so long, I'd been like, well, I gained some weight. It just happened to be 100 pounds. And you know, I just need to lose that weight. Just do a little dieting and I'll get back to normal. Well, getting to normal made me gain 100 pounds. So I think that whole process, like Olivia being on the show, me losing at home, like going through the whole process was like realizing, no, I got to go back to a different kind of normal. So now, even when, you know, say things, you know, you're just crazy all of a sudden and things aren't going, you can't eat well and you exercise like crazy and all this kind of stuff. There's still this thing of, well, I'm not going back to where I just ate whatever I wanted to all the time. Right. You know, like there's this thing of that there was just a major change. What did you say?
You, like I was telling them the story about Sione, about it gave you a conscience.
Sione really just nailed it, man.
He did. I'm telling you, that was that was like a life-changing moment, I think, for Ben and I, that conversation. Because
in the car after CrossFit.
Yeah. Like it all of a sudden.
Wait, that was my birthday.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
Birthday burpees. I had to do birthday burpees that day.
Oh, that's wrong. They're no fun.
It gave you a conscience, and that you, like Ben said, you have a new normal, and so you can't go back to that anymore. Thank goodness. And it's not a guilt thing. It's when you know more, when you know better, you do better, and that's always the choice. And I always want to do better if I can.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing is like, you know, people get mad at that because they, you know, when you have a conscience and it's kind of poking you and prodding you, you have a choice how to respond to that. You can be like, well, they messed me up. That messed me up. I was so good before. Well, no, you were.
No.
You know, like, but now that you know, you're like, you go, oh, I'm so glad that in the back of my mind there's part of me, whether it be my psyche, my spirit, my soul, whatever you want to say, that's saying, hey, let's get back to that. Let's get back to that. Because you have to do it every day.
Yeah.
And some days you're better than others.
Of course.
Definitely.
Of course.
Definitely.
But thank you, Ben.
Well, it's good to see you, Jay.
Good to see you as always, Ben.
Olivia. I
Olivia.
know Felix is not going to get that experience of me and Jay used to just, Olivia would teach and me and Jay would just walk around the Upper East Side.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's
Still
a
one
lot
of
of
my
fun.
favorite pictures of Harper ever was the one that you took of him on the red swing, Jay. I love
Oh,
that picture.
yeah,
It's one of my favorites ever of all the.
I have a lot of. It's cute because I have to send those to you. I have some other ones because I was going through my pictures before for these interviews and stuff, and I was like, oh my god, I have a lot of pictures. The first one I think was down. We were with Courtney and Marcy, and we were. I forget what it was, some breakfast place, and Harper was there on my lap, and there we were, two bald-headed kids.
I know.
Yeah, that was.
I think it was at Courtney's wedding.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was Courtney's wedding. So I don't remember where it was.
Yeah.
It wasn't a friend. It wasn't a Waffle House. It would be great.
Maybe a Denny's or something. I don't know, something
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Olivia.
Yes.
The other thing I mentioned to Hannah is in a couple of weeks, I want to have you and Hannah on together so the three of us can talk. I'm also going to reach out to Irene and see if Irene is game. I'm going to do an interview with Irene, and then I would love to have you, Irene, and I together. I think it'd be fun to do that. I haven't talked to Irene in ages. So
that would be amazing. I would love that.
So much fun. So stay tuned for that. So until then, where can people find, I know you're up to a lot of things. So tell people what you're up to give them a little bit of an idea of some of the things that they are going to want to follow. I mean, I know tons of people already follow you, but it's like anything else. Let them know, what are you up to and where's the best place for them to keep track of you?
I'm always all over the place, as Jay knows. He used to call us the squirrely girls.
You
for
are
a
the
reason.
So
because I am very squirrely. But you can find me pretty much on Instagram any day. I'm on my Instagram all the time, which is at the O-Bird. And I'm doing right now a challenge for May. The hashtag is Make It Count. So MAYKEIT COUNT, Make It Count. And it's just like all these little things in May. This is for a lot of people, not for everybody, but it's probably your last month of being kind of quarantined at home.
Yep.
So just trying to find ways to not just let the days pass. Let's really have something to show for it, whether it be, if you want to make a career change, or you want to lose weight, or if you want to just, whatever it is. I'm just kind of tailoring my Instagram this month to just kind of we just should make it count and do it all together. If you want to write a book, you should start writing it. You know what I mean? Like not waiting around for this to end or whatever. Let's just get going. And so, I'm really active over there. And then, I'm on Facebook. I'm a little bit on TikTok. I don't do any of the savage dances, so don't come looking for that. It's probably a lot of my kids and some cooking and just some me being squirrely. But primarily Instagram is where you can find me, and then everything is linked from there.
Your Make It Count is very much why I created the Going Beyond the Scale, because even though I have my body composition, I do that with people, my conversations are all about what you've shared today. It's really about your life, your quality of life. I think people think we're obsessed with what we weigh, and I understand that. We really aren't. It just became a conversation piece to open up, what is your life like? Because once you kind of let go of some of that excess weight mentally and physically, like what you said, there's a whole world of opportunities that open up there. So, I just want to thank you for who you've been to me and to my family. You and Ben, we miss you. When you guys were in New York, it was great because we all kind of lived near each other. It was fun.
Yeah.
So I miss you guys. I haven't been down in Atlanta since you moved down there. We'll get back together again. And
yes,
such a pleasure today. And thank you so much for letting us into your world, and you and the boys.
Of course.
And I look forward to having continued conversations around this. So
definitely. Well, I have to show one more thing before we go, because Jay, I equally, we love you guys so much, and you and Jen and Kim and Matt, y'all are all such a huge part of not just Biggest Loser, but just my continued success in life. Just knowing that you have family out there that are your family by choice, and people that are going to I know I could call you
Oh yeah.
anytime I needed anything. So
Oh,
people don't know this, or people probably know this, but people call you Jaybird because that's your nickname, and people call me O-Bird because that's always been my nickname. So we've always had that in common. So Jay and I used to hide this in each other's rooms on the ranch. Do you not remember this, Jay?
I know that bird very well. Yes, and don't forget there was
It's
one time it had a goatee around that little beak.
Oh, it had a goatee, it had glasses. We used to anyways, this has always been in my baby's rooms because part of my story was that I was not supposed to be able to have children because of a lot of complications from being overweight. But I had it in Harper's room, and now I have it in Felix's room on this little area over here. And so I think of you every day because I have to turn this light on every day. So I think of you, Jay, every day. So
You're very sweet.
that's it.
Thank you. Okay,
You're
so
welcome.
be safe, be well. Hugs to you and the boys, and we'll get together again. Thanks again. Thanks, Olivia.
All right. Bye, Jay.
Bye-bye.